And we're back. In this video we're going to go ahead and start to create our window frames, the actual windows themselves, because right now, if we can see, we've created the geometry, basically the basic foundation here in the walls, just the holes of where the windows are actually going to go. Just like when we created the doorways and then later we added doors. Now it's time to go ahead and add some actual windows. Fortunately in 3ds Max we do have the ability to create window objects, very similar to how we created door objects. So let me show you. Let me just come out here in empty space. And if we go over here to the creation tab, we have of course the standard primitives, but let's go to the drop down box here and we can see that right under doors we have windows. So let's go to windows. We have 6 different window types to create. And just to show you an example of how this works, I'll take, say, the awning window type, and it works very similar to creating doors. We're going to go ahead and click once and drag to establish the width. Then we're just going to drag to establish the depth of the window. Then we're going to click and we're going to drag the mouse, just move it up to establish the height of the window. And when we're done, we just click one more time and that's it. The window's done. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and right click to end the creation process, and if I go to the modify tab, I have parameters to adjust just like with the doors. Of course these parameters pertain to the window. So if I come in here and I get close to this window, for example, I can see the window has a glass pane in the middle here, and it's also got a frame. Okay, so I can come in here and I can adjust the height of the window, I can adjust the width and the depth, make it thicker or more narrow, and then we have some frame parameters here to adjust the frame of the window, so I can increase the horizontal width or the vertical width. I can also increase the thickness there of the window frame. The glazing, that's going to adjust the thickness of the actual glass in the middle. If I come over here and look at this from the side, you can see the glass is right there, right smack in the middle of the frame. And if I increase the size there, it's just basically going to create these sort of glass panes that are more separated or thicker looking. And down here we have some rails and panels parameters. So it's pretty simple. If you look at this, you can see that there's a panel inside of the frame. So here's the frame, there's a panel, and then there's the glass. So if we increase the width, we can see how we can affect the panel there. And some windows have a panel count, so you can create more interesting windows like this, for example, add more panels, maybe make it have 3 panels of glass here, and the frame just looks a little bit more interesting. We can also open the window just like we did with the door objects. So it's a very good and very fast way of creating windows in 3ds Max. And it's a great way to get started with some windows and just block them out, create them very quickly and easily. Okay? So let me delete that window. Go back to the creation tab. We have 6 different window types. I'm not going to go over every single one right now, but feel free to go later on your own free time and experiment, create some different windows, play around with the settings, because as we can see we have quite a few windows here that you can go ahead and play around with. Some sliding windows, you can open them and close them, things like that. Very interesting stuff. Okay, so let's go back and let's create some windows over here. We're going to start to create the windows back here for the back wall here of our house. We have a lot of windows to create. We have to fill this up with 12 windows. That's a lot of windows. Okay. Now we could come in here, and I'm going to create fixed windows. By the way, my windows are not going to open. They're just fixed windows. And if I come over here and I start creating some of these windows, it's going to be a real pain in the behind if I have to come over here and kind of set these windows up manually like this, and then adjust their height parameter and everything, try to make it fit the window, the holes here in the wall perfectly. It's going to be extremely difficult and very time consuming to do that. So what's the quickest way to get some windows into these holes here quickly and very easily? Well, let's have a look at how to do that. Let's go to the creation tab here. I'm going to select fixed window, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on the snaps toggle by hitting S on the keyboard. That way I can snap the vertices, and watch how cool this is going to be. Very easy. I'll go ahead and I'll click once over here on this vertex, okay? and then I'll drag and snap to this vertex here. Then I'll drag and it's going to snap to the back vertex on the back of the hole there for the wall. I'll click there and then I'll pull this up and snap it up here to this vertex, okay? And it can be the front vertex or the back vertex. So there's the back vertex behind the view. There's the front vertex. I'll just click on this one and there we go. I just created myself a window, okay? Very cool. Nice. Okay, so let's go to the Modify tab here, and here's our window. It's placed perfectly in the hole there, okay? Let's say I want to adjust some of these parameters. Maybe I want to, place some panels. In my case, I'm not going to place panels. I don't like the way that looks. I just like these simple windows like this. Looks more modern, very cool. I like that. But of course, feel free to come in here and change these parameters around as much as you like if you want to. Or maybe you don't even want to use a fixed window. Maybe you want to use a sliding window or any of the other window types available to us. I'm going to use these, okay? Now, I could continue to create windows, okay, which would be pretty cool, but I'm going to show you another way to do this. Let's say, for example, you worked on this window and you like this window and you want to continue using it, okay? It's very simple to clone this window and use it for the other holes here in the wall very easily. What I'm going to do is I'll go to the Hierarchy tab, which we've done before, and I'm going to affect the pivot. Before I do that though, I'm going to isolate the selection so it's a little bit easier to work with here. I'm going to hit Alt and Q to go ahead and go into isolate mode here, isolation mode. And if I activate the move tool, I can see where my pivot point is, which can be a little bit of a problem. See, if I go back here and I try to duplicate this or clone it, let me take snaps off. It's going to be very difficult to get it exactly in the window right there in the hole, right? So what I'm basically going to do is isolate the selection and adjust the pivot point to make my job a lot easier. I'll hit Affect Pivot Only. I'll grab the pivot point, activate snaps, and snap it to this bottom vertex. So the vertex I want to snap it to is this bottom vertex here in the bottom right, as you can see. That's the vertex that I want. Okay. When I'm done, we'll just hit Affect Pivot Point again. So the pivot point is placed correctly now. Let's go back to the Modify tab. I'm going to exit isolation mode. And now what I'm going to do is simply grab this window, hold down Shift to duplicate it, and using snaps, I'm going to snap it right here to that bottom corner of the hole in the wall. And now when the clone options come up, I'm going to hit for number of copies, I'm going to hit 2. Watch what happens. I'll hit OK. Basically, it creates another copy at that point right there on this window right there perfectly. Okay? Automatically. Very good. So it's a quick way of creating 2 windows in one shot in the right place without having to adjust or move anything. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this window, this one, and this one. I'm going to activate the Move tool here. And what I'm going to do is, right now, the gizmo is located at the center of my selection. So I'm going to switch modes back to this one, which uses the pivot point center. And basically, what I can do now is, you can see the pivot point is right there for these 3 objects together. Okay? So what I'll do, I'll hold down Shift so I can clone, and I'll snap it to that bottom left corner of that bottom window. Now you can see that it didn't snap it correctly. It's sticking out a little bit, but that's okay. I can always just move it back, and there we go. It locks into place, and it's good to go. It's perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to duplicate this, snap it right there, hit OK, zoom in here, make sure that it's correct, and it is. Then I'm going to clone that again, hit OK, come in close, make sure it's good, and it is. And there we go. So we got those windows in the back done completely, very quickly, and very, very easily, as you can see. Okay, so now that the back windows are done, we're going to work on the front windows, but I'll do that in the next video. I'm just going to end this one here, and we'll come back and we'll finish off the windows here in the front of the house.